Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us on this webinar on AAPS Fellows selection process. My name is Venkat. I am the chair of the AAPS Fellows Committee for this year. I'm joined by Jeff Silverman. He's the past chair of the AAPS Fellows Committee, and also Mikisha Potlap. Mikisha is a staff member and pretty much takes care of everything related to this committee's work. As you know, AAPS on a yearly basis recognizes its most outstanding members by designating them as AAPS Fellows. The primary criteria for election to a Fellows status is professional excellence in the fields which are relevant to AAPS mission. The basis for the election is unambiguous documentation of sustained level of superior and distinguished professional achievement and important scientific contributions and their impact. Let's start with who is an AAPS Fellow. AAPS Fellow is an AAPS member whose outstanding accomplishments distinguish them as a leader in their field and whose contributions advance the development and availability of products and therapeutics that improve global health. Their scientific achievements are considered innovative and highly impactful by their peers, and they are recognized for their leadership in developing creative solutions to challenges encountered in discovery, development, and the regulation of pharmaceuticals and biologics. The status of a fellow is in recognition of this professional excellence and sustained superior impact to global health and to the AAPS community. The best place to find detailed information about this is to go to the AAPS website, www.aaps.org/fellows. And this is the page you will come to. This has all the details that you need in order to nominate someone or nominate any deserving individual. If you scroll through this, you will see more specifics and a link to a fellowship handbook that gives you a lot of information about the process. You can further scroll down. You will have examples of nominees' CV, the format, the dossier, the assessment of the nominator, examples of the portfolio of accomplishments, and also the slide that's being used for presentation today. Now let's start with who is involved in this nomination process. Of course, there is a nominee. There is a nominator who nominates this nominee. There will be 2 or 3 individuals who are willing to write strong supporting letters of recommendation. And if necessary, AAPS Fellow who will be able to advise the nominator in terms of putting this package together. This is an optional thing. If one requires it, they can take advantage of it. The nominee must be a member of AAPS at the time of the nomination, must have been a member of AAPS for at least 5 consecutive years, must have been active in his or her scientific area for a sustained period of time. Typically, this translates to at least 10 years after the highest degree is completed, post the postdoctoral training. The nominee should hold a high academic or industrial or governmental rank and accordingly a promotion history. The nominator must be a current member of AAPS. Nominator does not have to be an AAPS Fellow. Nominator will be the one who is responsible for assembling and submitting the nomination package. They typically work with the nominee, and they must complete a comprehensive assessment of the nominee, typically providing a comprehensive evaluation of not only their contributions, but also the impact of their contributions. As mentioned, nominator can seek some advice from an AAPS Fellow if necessary. Then there are recommendation letter writers. This is someone who is very familiar with the accomplishments of the nominee. And this individual also need not be an AAPS member or an AAPS Fellow, but must be very familiar with the accomplishments of the nominee in order to write a strong recommendation letter. AAPS Fellow advisor obviously must be an AAPS Fellow, and AAPS staff will help anyone interested in contacting an AAPS Fellow advisor. The nomination package essentially consists of 4 components. It's an assessment by the nominator's assessment. 2 letters of recommendation are normally recommended, but up to 3 letters can be submitted. Then there is the portfolio of accomplishments and a complete curriculum vitae of the nominee. I will go into the details of each of this in a minute. The nomination package must be very clearly able to demonstrate what makes this nominee an accomplished leader in and an outstanding contributor to pharmaceutical sciences. What are the nominee's most important scientific research accomplishments? What is the demonstrated impact of all of these contributions? Nominator's assessment should very clearly identify active and sustained achievement with specific examples. It should identify and validate the candidate's sustained excellence in specific field or fields. Should place the value of the contributions into proper context. Why is this work considered important? The recommendation letter writers must be specific. They should include how long the writer has known the candidate and in what capacity. Writers should not be from nominee's place of appointment, education, or training. Specifically, they should describe candidate's contribution and place in the context. They should explain what makes the nominee an acknowledged leader and an outstanding contributor to pharmaceutical sciences. The portfolio of accomplishment, this has multiple aspects to it, but the intent is to provide an accurate and concise summary of the contributions and impact. It must very clearly demonstrate the accomplishments and their impact in several categories. It must be clear and focused and very persuasive. It can cite 6 key publications that represents the major contributions. Explain why these are considered to be key contributions. Then they also should demonstrate the specific impact of all of these contributions. Citation frequency is a very good but not the only measure of importance and contributions of someone's work. This portfolio of accomplishment can involve a discussion of involvement in organizing symposium at the national and international level, mentoring graduate students, subordinates, or colleagues, such as being member of the dissertation committee or advisor, or other activities which involve mentoring, service to professional and scientific organizations, could be being a chair or an elected official in a scientific society. It can also include adjunct faculty position for those of the individuals who are not primarily in the academia. It also can include INDs, NDAs, and other specific contributions an individual has made. Level and scope of managerial responsibility, if that's relevant, should also be included. Special scientific accomplishments and awards and recognitions the nominee has received should also be included as part of this portfolio of accomplishments. Patents, different presentations that individual has given, specifically invited presentations. Service as an editor, associate editor, or an editorial board member can also be included. An active role in AAPS is supportive of the documentation, but it's not mandatory for the nominee. The curriculum vitae must be a complete document and must include the common element that normally goes into a curriculum vitae, such as the current position and affiliation, field or area of specialization, their degrees, previous positions, professional positions, honors and awards, list of presentations and publications. It helps if it's categorized into peer-reviewed, non-peer-reviewed, list of patents, and the therapeutic candidates that the nominee has helped to launch, and involvement in IND or NDA or other regulatory documents. The nomination package will be considered by the committee in the proper format. The committee will only consider the information provided in the nomination package. The package must be prepared in accordance with the format that's provided in the AAPS Fellows Handbook. Any submission that does not follow the requirements outlined in the Fellowship Handbook will unfortunately be not considered. Now let's look at the process. The nomination package, once it's prepared, should be submitted online through AAPS website by the deadline. It will be reviewed by the AAPS Fellows Committee. After deliberation, the committee will endorse those individuals the committee is recommending for election as an AAPS Fellow. That will be sent to the Board of Directors of AAPS. Once the board approves this list, it will be communicated to the nominator, to the nominees, as well as the members of AAPS. If for some reason the nominee is not endorsed by the AAPS Fellows Committee, that information will be communicated only to the nominator and to the nominee. Here we have a list of the committee members for the year 2019. And I will be the chair of this committee for this year, and Jeff Silverman will be the past chair, and Veiko Dai will be the vice chair. The process that happens is as follows. Each of the document received is assigned to primary reviewers and secondary reviewers well ahead of time. At the meeting, face-to-face meeting at AAPS, the primary reviewer provides a written evaluation. The written evaluation will be provided by the primary reviewer ahead of time so that other individuals can look at it. At the meeting, the primary reviewer will present this assessment and will facilitate the committee's discussion. Secondary reviewer, who is also assigned ahead of time, will provide written evaluation prior to the meeting, but will also participate in presenting the assessments at the meeting and will facilitate the discussion. The committee members will deliberate and decide candidates who should be forwarded to the board of directors. The chair essentially conducts the meeting. Majority of the vote is required for endorsing an individual for selection as AAPS Fellow. In case there is a case which is by close vote is not endorsed, it will be re-evaluated at the end of the meeting and a final decision will be made at the meeting. All the endorsed candidates will be forwarded to the board of directors of AAPS for approval. And those who are not forwarded, the reasons for not electing them at this time will be recorded and will be communicated to the nominees and the nominators. In this slide, we have past history of the number of nominations and number of fellows elected. If you just focus on the top part of this slide, in 2018, 14 nominations were submitted, 13 were forwarded to the Fellows Committee, 6 of them were recommended by the committee to be elevated to a Fellows position, corresponding to about 43% of the submitted nominees. This is typically falls in the range over the last several years, anywhere from 40 to 60%. So in essence, AAPS Fellows or members who have been elevated to this position and therefore can use a designation FAAPS, Fellow of American Association of Pharmaceutical Scientists, after the name, in communications they use, in written biographies or CVs, or any other place where such a designation is in use. AAPS Fellows are anticipated to remain actively involved with AAPS after the elevation of Fellows status. They are expected to serve as role models for other pharmaceutical scientists, to share their experience and expertise through AAPS, and serve as leaders that drive the mission of AAPS. This slide provides some key dates for the current 2019 time period. Today is the training and webinar. April 29th, 5 p.m. is the deadline for submission of nomination package. Gives the nominee and nominator to put this package together over a couple of month period. AAPS staff will review this package and by March 3rd will forward this to the Fellows Committee. The Fellows Committee will submit, the primary and the secondary reviewer will submit their review by May 31st. The Fellowship Committee will meet face-to-face on June 21st and make further recommendations. This will be submitted to the AAPS Board of Directors, who will meet on July 17th to finalize the approval process. By July 26th, the notification letters will be sent to nominators, nominees, as appropriate. So in conclusion, AAPS confers the honor of AAPS Fellow in order to recognize those individuals for their professional excellence, sustained superior contributions, and significant impact on global health and AAPS community. The primary criteria are sustained, outstanding accomplishments, innovative, and highly impactful contributions. There definitely exists a very clearly defined and rigorous process. A nominee's accomplishments must therefore be thoroughly documented. Deviation from any established process will make it less likely that the nominee will be successful. It will take some effort on the part of the nominator to put this documentation. We strongly recommend the nominee and the nominator to work together and put a good package. So I would strongly recommend, go for it. AAPS recognizes that our members make a difference in the lives of many and really would like to recognize them. You can help AAPS in identifying these individuals. If you believe that you can be a nominee, work with a nominator. If you know of someone who deserves to be recognized as an AAPS Fellow, identify them, work with them as a nominator, and submit a documentation. I wish you all the best. Have a wonderful day. And at this point, I would like to open up this session for any questions that the attendees may have. I have Jeff along with me and Makisha as well. We will try to answer any questions you may have. If for some reason we are unable to come up with an answer, we will make sure that we reach out to you as soon as possible. Thank you and have a great day. So one of the questions that came up is, it seems since a few years ago, the number of approved fellows has significantly reduced. Is there a particular reason for this? In a sense, if you look at this slide, as a percentage, at least over the last 5-6 years, it's not significantly reduced. As I said, it ranged anywhere from 42% in 2015 to 63% in 2016. To some extent, it depends on how many nominations are received. As you will note, in the year 2018, we had only 14 nominations. 2017, we had only 18 nominations. In contrast, in 2014 and 2013, we received 27 and 31 nominations. So the more nominations that we get, there will be more individuals who could be recognized. So you could help in recognizing an individual if you think the person deserves to be recognized as an AAPS Fellow. Thank you. Any other questions? Those of you still online, I would strongly recommend that go to the AAPS website and look at the handbook that provides all the specifics that's necessary to complete a nomination package. Thank you.